Hey, True Believers, England Teen here with another episode of Comic Book Origins, where we take a look at any first appearance of any supervillain, superhero, super team. This time around, we're taking a look at Iron Man 2020, Arno Stark. Now, there is a 616 version of him where it's Iron Man's long-lost brother, but we're going back to the beginning. We're taking a look at the very first appearance, all the way back in 1984, where Iron Man 2020 was created by Tom DeFalco and Herb Trimpe for the Machine Man miniseries. Now, even though Iron Man 2020 made his first appearance only in Machine Man 2, I'm going to be taking a look at the entire miniseries, mainly because I haven't read it in a long time. So this is kind of a comic book origin / is it really that good kind of thing. So this is a commissioned video. If you would like to commission a video, by all means, the link to Ko-Fi is in the description below. Just go on over, and all you got to do is pick out a subject, pick out a topic, and boom, and get it to you as quickly as possible. And as much as I like to thank everybody for who's already done that, I think it's about time we jump into Machine Man 2020 and the first appearance of Iron Man 2020. Okay, let's sum up. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sum up the story to issue number 1. We're in the future. There's a company. It's got a lot of robots running around in it. They are getting rid of old containers, things that just don't matter anymore if they don't have the right numbers. They throw it out in the junkyard where a group of salvagers find it. They always look for some sort of spare parts because in this future, the rich actually get the good robots. Well, this particular case has Machine Man in it, and the owner of the business wants Machine Man back. She didn't mean for it to be taken. The salvagers fight for it. They take it home, and we get to meet who the owner of the company is. It's Sunset Bane, and this is a villain of Machine Man's from his superheroing days. Well, they open the case, they find out it's Machine Man, and they don't know who he is, but they put him together, and they're telling him basically, well, you know, you are in the future, and in all honesty, you're kind of an obsolete robot because, you know, apparently they're just so much more advanced at this point. So they're talking, and basically this is all the story. This is all the exposition you need. He even mentioned Sunset Bane, and they're like, oh my gosh, not that one. When all of a sudden a killer robot comes in to steal Machine Man, and Machine Man starts to fight him, and everybody's like, oh, well, you can't beat it because you're obsolete. But there's something different about Machine Man than the robots they're used to. He can think. He does have his own set of powers, but he seems to be more sentient than the robots that they're used to dealing with. And in the end, they have their little battle. Machine Man overcomes the Death Bot, and we see Sunset Bane is like, oh my gosh, somebody's reared their ugly head. And somebody from behind the curtain says, who? And it's Jocasta. That brings us to issue number 2, the official first appearance of Arno Stark and Iron Man 2020. Usually I do a cover review. Not going to do that, but I will point out that if you put all the Machine Man covers together, you will see that as it goes, he actually forms a little more. You get a little more Machine Man, and then at issue number 4, he's complete. So the book opens up on a splash page, and they're flying away from the cops or whatever they're called in this particular thing, the Doombots of the time. And they're like, hey, wait a second, man. We've been doing this forever and a day, and we never had nary a problem until we opened the box with Machine Man in it. What gives? And of course, Machine Man kind of notices that he's really responsible for these kids being in trouble and everything, so he reaches out and starts to destroy the vehicles that the enemy robots are chasing him in. They all land safely and together somehow, considering everything got blowed up at different particular intervals. But they all land together and say, well, okay, we're going to be out of here before we get scanned. And Machine Man's like, how? And they're like, haven't you heard of the subway? Ha ha. I guess there's no cameras there or something. Cut to Sunset Baines, and she's talking with Jocasta, who's like, just leave Machine Man alone. And she's like, you know we can't. As soon as he hears I'm the one that deactivated him, he's coming after us. And then an ambassador comes in and yells at her, I heard that Machine Man's still around, and what's Jocasta doing here? Because she was once Machine Man's girlfriend. And then she's, Sunset Baines like, hey, wait a second, don't worry about this. Don't worry about Jocasta or Machine Man. I have already acquired the services of an expensive but highly efficient specialist who will attend to him. I hope I'm not disturbing you, Arno. And he says, not at all, Madam Bane. In fact, I was about to call you. And ladies and gentlemen, the very first appearance of Arno Stark. As you know, Machine Man is traveling with a pack of Midnight Wreckers, a small band of criminals who deal in illegal robotics. They're spooked and on the run, but I believe that I know their final destination. Rest assured that I've made the appropriate arrangements. And then we catch up with the pack who stole a coat from Machine Man so they can meet up with, I guess, a fence of some sort? Nope, turns out the guy is there to arrange them some passage. They want to get a ride out of town because of how hot they are. But unfortunately, as they're trying to make a deal, one of them notices that the dude is pushing a button under the desk, obviously signaling somebody. So she grabs her gun. Everybody's like, hey, what you doing? She says, I think he sold us out, fires into a curtain. And that's when a whole bunch of robots come bouncing out. And the fat man says, hey, no blood on my carpets. And Machine Man's like, hey, you don't want blood on your carpets? How about oil? And Machine Man shoots a couple of them down, and they start fighting until they could use something as one of the robots as a battering ram to get through one of the walls, and they can escape. We see the brain near two of the robots. He puts a machine on one of the robots that messes with their circuitry, and it starts attacking its own robot people, I don't know. But then he gets captured by one. He's like, oh, all the cleverness in the world sometimes can't beat a well-placed shot between the eyes. The fight continues, and Machine Man says, you know, I feel guilty when I fight robots like these. It's so unfair. And then he blows one's head up. The bad guy says to him, save your pity for yourself, Metal Man. You and your friends are doomed. Banetronics has offered a small fortune for your capture. You'll never be safe. Heads up, Wreckers. Bradani's shown us the way out. So the pack follows Bradani through his escape hatch. Hassel kicks the brain through the door and shuts it, thinking she could hold him off, but she quickly gets overpowered and captured. Bradoni's about to make his escape in his helicopter-ish kind of thing, and Machine Man's like, hey, I might not have strength in my arms when they're all extended, but I could sure use my freeze ray or something like that, and he ends up freezing the ship in its place, and then grabs Bradoni, who's like, oh, why bother? They're the most powerful. Banetronics the most powerful industry in the world. Soon they're going to get you. And Machine Man just tosses him aside into the water. Machine Man asks where Hassel is, and Brain tells him that she ended up getting captured because here come the Banies. And Machine Man's like, whoa, we can't leave. I'm not going to leave someone behind. And Brain says, I hate that you feel that way. And then he sticks a little buzzer on him that causes them to just kind of collapse, and they end up carrying him into the ship. So the pack make their escape, and they figure, okay, there's only one place we could go to, a sanctuary. Cut to Baines, Sunshine Baines, who is going to torture, harass, what, isn't that her name, harass? If she doesn't tell her where the location of the sanctuary is. And that's when the doctor steps in and he says, are you ready to begin questioning? She says, kiss mine. Before she could get the word out, he hits her with a laser and says, ladies don't use such language. And then he hits her with the laser again, but he never asks her a question. In my years as a torturer, I found out even in that first gambit, right after you show them how much pain they could be in, you have to ask the first question. Maybe they're going to break right there. Usually not, but hey, it's worth a try. But he decides to do it after the second hit, and he asks, we're talking about Sanctuary, and she doesn't say anything, so he hits her again, and Jocasta's like, hold on, you're going to kill her, you're not going to get any information out of her like this. And Sunset Bane's like, hey, wait a second, maybe Jocasta has a point, give her a little break, and let her think about how disadvantaged she is in this particular situation. And so they do, and they're leading her off to, I see a jailbreak in her future. And yep, that's exactly what happens. She sees a pistol on one of the robots, even stating it. Well, that's odd. She takes it, kills the robots, and then makes it out to like a flight deck where she's like, wait a second, this is too easy. So Harass knocks out the one inept guard left to guard the spaceship, and then Harass jumps into it, flies away, and we definitely see that Sunset Baines is watching her on a camera, and she's saying, everything's going according to Arno's plan. He'll be so pleased. Who hired who? And we see the pack arrive at what they believe to be the sanctuary. We get a little information. This is run by the Ancient Packer, or whatever they call themselves. And as they're walking towards where they think they're supposed to be going, it looks like one of them triggered a tripwire, which of course sets off a net, capturing them, and immediately they're surrounded. Like, where did all these people come from? I have no idea. It just seems very convenient that nobody was seen. I mean, most of them are wearing loud red shirts. I don't know. Okay, I think this was just a bad panel. Elsewhere at that very moment, thank you for calling, Madam Bain. We see they're outside of Stark Enterprises. Yes, I shall personally take charge of matters from this point forward. Good day, milady. I suppose I really should get ready. If all goes according to plan, and there's no reason why it shouldn't, the girl will soon lead me to Machine Man and Sanctuary. In just a few short hours, I'll smash them both and collect a rather substantial fee in the process. However, I must confess that I'm quite taken with the idea of meeting this Machine Man. From all reports, he appears to be extremely resourceful and incredibly powerful, perhaps a foe truly worthy of me. Yes, I'm anxious to see how he'll fare against Arno Stark, the Iron Man of 2020. So I guess they figured, hey, you know what's going to be badass in 2020? Gears on the shoulder. Yeah, this is what we would thought that the future was going to be. Flying cars, robots all over the place. Well, I mean, everybody's stuck on their phone. I mean, Gail right now can't take her eyes off of her phone, even though she's got a bird on her shoulder. But, yeah, no gears on our shoulders. Machine Man number 3 pretty much picks up where the last one left off. We see, I kept calling her Harass. It's Hassel, by the way. And she's escaping, and she's like, oh, I knew they put a tracker on me, and she's got a death bot on her tail and everything. She manages to escape it. And we go back to Arno and Sunset Bain and everybody, and the doctor saying, well, she thinks it's in her ship, but in all honesty, I put the tracker in her ear, so she's going to lead us straight to the sanctuary. And we join the pack that we've been following, and they're captured by the other packers that are living on the sanctuary, and they're welcome inside. As soon as they get in, they find out that, they put Machine Man back together, so he's thinking straight, and he goes off. He gets all ballistic because they've been treating him like a robot, and he doesn't think of himself as a robot. He's got thoughts. He's got feelings. He's not just any machine that they've been seeing. And you find out that the ancient Packer that everybody's been talking about here is a friend of Machine Man, Gears. I don't know, Gears Gargan, something like that. I think he said his name was. Anyway, then of course we cut back and or we get to see that Hassel makes it to the sanctuary, and as soon as she does, Arno Stark as Iron Man 2020 attacks the base, and we end up getting the big fight between Iron Man and Iron Man 2020, that is, and Machine Man. And it's pretty good. Machine Man, fairly enough, gets his butt whipped. He has a couple of good shots, but I think that's the way it should go. I mean, this is a future Iron Man. Now, granted, you can't expect him to be as good as Tony Stark, but he should be powerful enough that Machine Man really needs to do something out of the box to beat him, and that's what ends up happening. In Machine Man number 4, Machine Man's had enough. He's been attacked. He's tired of being on the run. Jacosta's with Sunset Bain. He wants to go out, and he's not very happy even with the people surrounding him. He just wants to go and get this over with. So while everybody's arguing and bickering about what to do, he steals a Sky Cycle, and off to the races he goes. And all the while just saying, yep, that's it. We're going to get into a fight. And Sunset Bain realizes, wait a second, Arno Stark, you were supposed to beat Machine Man, and yet here he comes. She sends some men to the roof, but they're like, hey, you know what, you're not sending enough. He gets into a fight, and here comes all the other wreckers. And by the way, I've been calling them Packers. I don't know why. They're wreckers. And they take care of the 30 men on top. And then Machine Man comes in and starts beating the teetotal hell out of Iron Man. Iron Man beats the teetotal hell out of Machine Man to the point where he's getting his butt whipped. He really is. But Machine Man is proving that he's more man than robot, and he just keeps pressing on and pressing on and pressing on until he actually defeats Arno Stark. And this is a bit of the story. This is what's going on. Everybody's even saying that he will not stop. He's got willpower. And so he beats Arno Stark. Iron Man 2020, he's out of the picture. And Machine Man confronts Sunset Bane and says, look, enough's enough. I'll let you live, but you have to promise not to mess around with the wreckers. And she does. The wreckers are like, wait a second, can you trust her? I don't know if we can. Yada, yada. He goes to Jocasta and says, well, you know, I love you. Why don't you come back? But she's like, I can't leave Sunset Bane at this point. It's been too long. He agrees. And the wreckers ride off thinking that everything's going to be okay. And they even say, hey, where are we going? East. Why? Why not? And that's the way the book ends. So there you go, gang. That is the first appearance of Arno Stark, Iron Man 2020, and even the miniseries that surrounds it, a little bit of what happened in there. I hadn't read the book in a long time, so I figured why not? Why not do a really that good as well, I guess? And does it hold up? Yeah, actually, it's a very, very fine book. I do like the art, very stylized, but it was perfect for what it had, and I remember loving it as a kid, and I got to tell you, I enjoyed it quite a bit now. It's a good story, gang. If you haven't read it for yourself, go on ahead, check it out, try to find it if you can. It is thoroughly enjoyable, and let me know in the comments below what you think of the video, what you think of the story itself, and if you would like to see another comic book origin story, just click on any of the boxes that are about to show up in the credits. And don't forget to go on over to Patreon and Ko-Fi and drop $1 in the till and help the video channel out. Thank everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.